Okay, welcome to Brigham Young University Family History Library webinar series. Feel free to use the chat box for any questions. If we are unable to get to them during the presentation, they will be answered at the end. My name is Jeremy Ingersoll. I will be your host for this webinar. Today we will be pleased to hear from Amy Harris, who will be giving a presentation titled BYU Resources and Initiatives for Family History. Amy Harris, PhD, AG, is an associate professor of history at Brigham Young University. After receiving a family history BA with university honors at Brigham Young University, she completed an MA in European history at American University and a PhD in British history at the University of California, Berkeley. Her research interests center on families, women, and gender in early modern Britain. She is particularly interested in the way family and social relationships inform one another. Her books Siblinghood and Social Relations in Georgian England, Share and Share Alike, explored sibling relationships and their connections to political and social ideas of equality. She is currently working on a new book, A Single View, Family Life and the Unmarried in Georgian England, which analyzes family relations across the lifespan of never-married men and women. Her most recent publication, Family Life in England and America, 1690 through 1820, is a 4-volume co-edited collection of transcribed and annotated primary sources of century family life. She is also in the midst of a large project about kinship and poverty in early modern Britain and colonial America. Using both historical and genealogical tools, she has a professional credential in genealogy. She explores kinship ties among recipients of poor relief. Professor Harris teaches European history, introductory genealogical methods, English paleography, methodology courses, and women's studies. She currently serves as the director of the Family History program at BYU. Now I'm going to turn the time over to her.
Okay, hello. So I'm just going to outline some of the resources that BYU has for family history. Some of these are applicable for those who have access to campus, and some are for anybody who can access the web. And some are geared for those who are taking full-time courses, and others are more for the public. So I'm just going to outline some of those resources that a lot of people don't realize are available via BYU. You'll notice we have a tagline for all the family history initiatives here on campus called Education, Exploration, and Innovation, or Educate, Explore, and Innovate. And so I'm going to use those three to talk us through, though I've arranged the order slightly differently. So first I want to talk about what's going on at BYU in general. That there's the 4-year bachelor's program that is run out of the history department with faculty coming from the religious education department as well. There's the library, there's continuing education, and computer science, print and mail services, who are all involved with family history in one degree or another. So you can see on the slide where the faculty members associated with these different programs are listed, but I just want to highlight sort of the main content of these areas. The bachelor's program is a 4-year liberal arts degree in family history. As far as we know, it's the only one in the world. And it's heavily concentrated on historical and genealogical methods. There's 4 faculty members in the history department, plus the full-time director for the Center in Family History and Genealogy that's also administered from the history department that administer this program along with 2 colleagues in the religion department who teach courses both in religion and history. Then there's the library that you're familiar with if you've been watching this webinar series that has the family history collection. It's the largest branch library, the Family History Library. In addition, there are the L. Tom Perry Special Collections that is particularly good for Western U.S. history and Mormon history. And then there's an additional associated faculty member that teaches Slavic and Latin courses in family history who's a librarian. Beyond that, beyond those campus resources, and I should clarify, to get the 4-year bachelor's degree, you have to be in person. BYU does not grant online degrees, other than one exception that I will discuss. So you have to come here to campus and enjoy all the resources here to get the 4-year degree. The exception to that is the Bachelor's of General Studies that you can see under continuing education right here. And that is for people who've completed some amount of education at a BYU or another church school like LDS Business School and would like to finish their bachelor's degree, that can be done remotely online. That's the only degree BYU gives at a distance. The other options, though, in continuing education, the independent study and the conferences and workshops are available to everybody. The independent study courses, there are 5 courses in family history that are just like the ones on campus that are available via independent study. They have the same numbers and the same content. You can go to the independent study website and learn more about those there. I'll discuss some of this a little more later. And then conferences and workshops I'll talk about later. That's a public access to genealogical instruction during a week-long conference. Computer science is involved in family history because they administer a family history technology lab. A lot of you will probably know about some of their apps that are compatible with Familysearch, and I will talk about those later as well. And then print and mail services will publish your family history that you've written in a variety of different printing and binding forms. Plus, they also have some connections with Familysearch that I'll discuss later. You'll notice I have a little note here at the bottom to clarify BYU's relationship to BYU Idaho. They are 2 separate institutions. So BYU Idaho offers an online applied associate's degree in genealogy, which also has some residential requirements. Other than Religion 261, there are no family history courses or faculty at BYU Idaho, however. The courses are designed and managed mostly by Familysearch with some connections to campus in Rexburg. And currently they do not transfer to BYU. The programs are designed very differently and they do not easily transfer back and forth. So that's just an FYI. If you're at BYU Idaho or wanting to take the BYU Applied Associate's degree and thinking you can transfer to BYU, you might have some snags. So talk to the registrar. That's your idea. Okay, so let's talk about some of the specifics. First off, we started a BYU Family History Collaborators group last year to bring all of these various pieces on campus, plus some other things I'm going to talk about that aren't even in that list, into one working group so that we're all more aware of the different initiatives, different research projects, different student employment opportunities, and different public outreach aspects of family history at BYU. And we've put them all into one place, so that's the URL that you can use. It's familyhistory.byu.edu, and the web page you see behind there, oops, sorry, go back to that. That's what the portal looks like. It's very simple and very clean, and under Educate, Innovate, and Explore, you can explore the different options I will talk about today. So that's why I won't be listing off a bunch of web addresses for you. So the only one you need to remember is this one. Oops. I just angered the computer. There we go. Okay. So that's the only one you need to remember, and it will take you to all the other places I've already described or will describe later on. So first, educate. What are the things going on that BYU has for you to educate about doing family history even better? So in addition to the bachelor's program, which I'll describe in a little more detail just out of public interest, there's the BGS that I've just described, independent study courses, and then of course the family history library courses here in the library that you can participate in. So the BA in Family History and Genealogy includes religious education and history courses. It has an enormous amount of funding to allow students to participate in internships and mentored learning. The pictures on the right are real live examples of our students in archives and classrooms working together with each other and with professors. Currently, we have, I think, 5 students in Britain, a student in Spain, and 2 in Germany, as well as 1 in Allen County Public Library, and doing internships in family history. The large portion of their internship funded by donor funds for family history students. So there's a lot of resources for the students and a lot of really hands-on learning experiences for them. In addition, there's the Center for Family History and Genealogy, which I will describe in a little more detail in a minute. This has a lot of databases that are free to the public. It's sort of like a research lab for our family history students where they work under the supervision of faculty to compile databases that are useful in genealogical research. We currently employ about 40 students year-round in the center. In addition, students participate in conferences, both here in Salt Lake and Provo, and also in national conferences and international conferences. If you would like to learn more about the family history program, because who wouldn't, and if you would like to learn more so you can convince yourself, others, and relatives to major in it when they come to BYU, again, who wouldn't want to do that? You can follow us on social media. Facebook's pretty self-explanatory there, and then on Twitter, it's at BYU FH Program. So I also want to talk just briefly about what the program is. I think people are usually interested. BYU has had a undergraduate education in family history of some sort under slightly different labels for over 50 years, and briefly had a master's program in a sort of related family and local history program. So it's come and gone under different guises. It's never really been gone, but the current version, that's the BYU, or that is the Family History Genealogy major, started in 1992. We average somewhere between 70 and 90 majors any given year in the program until the recession and the missionary age change really hurt our enrollments. We went down in our 50s, but we're rebounding and growing rapidly. And so I think you'll see more and more family history majors in your wards and stakes, or in your local history society and your community genealogical societies as our numbers expand. Some of the things we're working on to grow the program is the development of History 217, the family historian's craft. About a third to half of the students enrolled in that class are non-family history majors. So if you're anywhere near Provo and you want to take that class, you're welcome to. It is also available online via independent study. And I think I currently have about 20 students in it, which is about all I really want to grade. So maybe don't all join this week. Maybe stagger yourself across the summer. This class, though, was added to the curriculum, particularly for the non-major, and also to help majors prepare for the rest of the courses over their remaining years here. A lot of students take Religion 261 or 293, which are introductory courses to family history, and these enroll several hundred students a semester. They're also available at BYU Idaho and via seminaries or via institute program. But a lot of students want just a bit more instruction, a little more in depth about how to conduct research, and there wasn't really a place to do that in the history curriculum, so we added History 217 to allow students a solid foundation in genealogical research. And then you can just see the numbers there of how many students were enrolled in family history in last year, and we expect that number to grow again this fall. And then the employment opportunities on campus, the 40 plus students I told you about at the center, and then we enroll several students a semester as research and teaching assistants. This language comes from Learning Outcomes about the family history program, and it just might interest some of you to understand what the program is for. Sometimes there's confusion. This is a history genealogy combo major, so students are expected to understand methodologies and historical consciousness, for lack of a better word. At the same time, they learn genealogical methods to prepare them for a variety of community service and employment opportunities in the genealogical field. You can read all of this on Learning Outcomes if you want to about the family history program, but you'll see that it emphasizes research skills, critical thinking, a lot of writing, command of historical and genealogical terms, the ability to systematically work through various forms of evidence, and to prepare them for, like I said, a variety of career possibilities. Just to give you an idea of what the genealogy field is like, Ancestry is traded on the New York Stock Exchange, and Forbes a couple of years ago figured that genealogy was worth about $4 billion a year and set to double within 5 years. So it is a booming industry with marketing, PR, legal, document recognition, handwriting reading, programmers, developers, all of those people working in genealogy who desperately need genealogical training to supplement their technical or other business training. So I said I'd come back to the Center for Family History and Genealogy, and this is where I'm going to discuss that, just so you have an idea. This is the one, if you're not a current student or you live far from Provo, these are probably the sites you will use the most. We have a series of databases that are free to use. Students go and find original records. These are directed by faculty and by research directors. And students extract or enter the information and give excellent source citations, and then make the data available to the public from the center's website. So there's a lot of these have a strong Mormon emphasis, as you can imagine. So the Nabu Community Project, the Welsh Mormon Project are both tracing Mormon converts or early Mormon, early members of the LDS Church who settled in Nauvoo and then moved elsewhere from there. So the Nauvoo Community Project is the first attempt to track every person who lived in Nauvoo during the Mormon era across their lifespan. And so far we're up to maybe 3,500 people, but we think that there might be as many as 15,000 people eventually. And this is painstaking effort, and the public can access this and then see all the original documents attached to their own ancestor that's been properly cited. Welsh Mormon Project does a similar thing for Welsh Mormon converts in the 19th century. The Immigrant Ancestors Project is the largest project we have. We have about 700,000 names in there, and that is done, it's sort of a misnomer. It should be the Immigrant Ancestors Project because it's about people who left Europe, mostly in the 19th century, but as early as the 17th century and into the 20th century. Students go to archives in Europe, take pictures of records of people leaving, and then the images are downloaded to Dropbox, and students at the center upload those images and then extract out the data and put it into the IAP database, and it's made available for public use. The Discovering English Ancestors and the Bertram Merrills Index are both English databases. One is about a particular set of marriage records, and then one is to give general help, methodological help for finding English ancestors. The Family History Companion is companion materials for somebody who's being a family history consultant or is taking Religion 261. And the script tutorial is to help people read old handwriting in most of the modern languages of Europe. So it has tutorials, interactive exercises, and example documents. So you can see that the other information here is just about how the staff works on the center. It's administered, like I said, through the history department, and then the director manages the students as well as the research projects. And then history department faculty, such as myself, supervise some of those projects, like I supervise the script tutorial along with my colleague, Professor George Reiskamp. So I think I've already discussed, the donors and internships. So students can intern at the center, but there's also donor money to help students who work at the center or who are family history majors go to conferences and complete internships away from the Wasatch Front. Beyond the program, like I said, there's a lot of mentored learning, hands-on learning, going to archives together with faculty and students, internships. The BGS that I described is via the independent study continuing education part of BYU. You can take the track in history / family history. There's not a family history in BGS degree. You have to take the history, family history emphasis within that. And like I said, there's about 5 to 7, depending on how you count it, courses available online. We've also we've grouped those genealogy courses for those who don't want a degree, but just want to take a series of courses in family history at BYU. The online ones we've labeled Genealogical Specialization, and this is a series of 5, you could take 6 or 7, but about 5 courses. It's roughly the equivalent of having a minor in family history. And it has History 217, like I've described, and a selection of other courses. And then, of course, you know about how you can get more education from the Family History Library here within the library at BYU via these sorts of webinars, in-person classes, and the YouTube channel. So innovate. What are the ways BYU is innovating in family history and genealogy, or allows you to participate in that innovation? So in addition to the Center for Family History and Genealogy, the one you're probably most familiar with is the Computer Science Department and the Family History Technology Lab. And then I will also discuss print and mail services, the Early LDS Research Group, and the Family History Technology Workshop. So the Family History Technology Lab, if you've ever used Grandma's Pie or Relative Finder or Virtual Pedigree or One-Page Genealogy or the games like Genealogy, those all come out of the Family History Technology Lab here at BYU. What that is they have the API, they have permission to basically access Familysearch's data and use an app to reorganize the data for the user. So the information you get from Relative Finder or Grandma's Pie is only as good as whatever the data is on Family Tree, on Familysearch that day. And Family Tree is entirely crowdsourced, so the data fluctuates from day to day. So if you see here, I ran Grandma's Pie for my family here, and it looks a little odd to suddenly have random bits coming from different countries like Denmark all of a sudden in all of my Norwegian family. That's probably not what really happened. Somebody's probably just entered Denmark for something that should have been Norway, because the Danes controlled Norway for far too long, and I'm not bitter about that at all. So um, that's just a caution that these are not, the technology lab is not set up to help you make everything accurate. It's to help you gather information out of family tree in a different way that's useful for a family activity, or to see if you're related to other people, or to help you visualize where the gaps are on your pedigree on family tree. They're diagnostic tools and apps, and they're a lot of fun, and they're easy to use. And the students, the computer science students, are working with faculty members all the time to develop better and better resources to help family tree on Familysearch be more user-friendly, be more accurate, be more accessible for new users, those sorts of things. So let's move on. So print and mail services does a couple of things. So like I said, they can publish your family history, and they do a fantastic job. Nice binding, photos, high quality, whatever you want done. They also will print Familysearch materials, and this is probably not widely known. So Familysearch materials, like you would use to run an activity at a stake, like a discovery day, a family discovery day, or at a family history center if they were going to have activities, or a family or an event for, say, Trek or youth conference or something like that, where you would want to print materials and posters and flyers and that kind of thing. Familysearch already has produced really high quality materials for this, and then BYU Print and Mail Services will print it all for you if you happen to live in the area, or I believe they'll also ship it to you if you live further away. So that's what this website is right here. The Early LDS Research Group is another group of mostly geographers on campus that are working to do really fantastic things, like the Mormon Mapping Project and so forth, to map LDS congregations. Right now they're working on ward boundaries in the Salt Lake Valley, which is one of the really hard things about trying to find LDS ancestors, is to figure out which ward they belong to, so you can look at the ward records. So they're trying to map those out, and then they're trying to map early LDS records out, both historical and geographical. And this is a great resource for family history for people who have early LDS ancestors. Then there's the Family History Technology Workshop, and this is from the Computer Science Department. They hold it the week of Roots Tech, the day usually before Roots Tech starts. It's held in Provo, on campus in Provo, and this is where you get sort of innovators and app designers talking about what they're working on, and people who are users trying to talk about what they want them to work on. They allowed me to speak at it this year and sort of give my wish list as a researcher and a genealogist, what I would like to have developers work on to make research better. And that's kind of what it is. It's to bring users and developers together, brainstorming about where the industry should go technologically. Explore. So these are resources geared more for the public. There's a lot of aspect of public research and the other aspects we've already discussed, but these things are specifically for an off-campus audience or non-student audience, if you want to think of it that way. So there's special collections, the record linking lab, conference attendance, and then the local BYU Family History Conference and Family History Camp that I will talk about. So, let me first say about special collections. It's a massive collection of 19th century, 20th century Mormon and Western, but also Victorian literature. So if you have interest in any of those topics, they have a fair amount well indexed in their catalog online. Some of it's digitized, and then there's the excellent reading facilities here to come and look at the manuscript sources. They've put a lot of Mormon missionary diaries online, the original images digitized, all available online, those sorts of things, and then some things are here available in person. Okay, so now on to national conferences. Students and faculty participate in Roots Tech, the National Genealogical Society, and the Federation of Genealogical Societies, in addition to an occasional regional conference or institute. Roots Tech I will discuss in a bit more specific detail, but the National Genealogical Society and Federation of Genealogical Societies, we have a booth at those just to inform the public of the kind of resources I've just told you about. There we are. And to help spread the word about BYU's program and students. So that's what you see going on here. So there's some family history students here at the NGS last week. And then here's a computer science student helping a patron at Roots Tech this past year. So Roots Tech I want to speak about. 2 years ago, we looked around Roots Tech and realized that the history department had come and the computer science department, oh no, they hadn't come, but they were going to come. And the library was there and print and mail services were there, and we were all in separate little 10 by 10 booths spread throughout the massive expo hall. And we thought we really needed to brand BYU's presence within the family history community, and we needed to have one big spot. So in 2016, you can see here the little schematic of our booth space, that we had a huge 30 by 50 booth, and we had all of the BYU entities under one big banner where students, or where Roots Tech attendees could learn about all the different things you could have done at BYU and ask specific questions from the various entities on campus that are relevant, and also understand that BYU does so many different things in the family history field. So we'll go back again in 2017 and probably for several years, mostly with the computer science, continuing education, history, print mail services, and the Center for Family History and Genealogy, but also with rotating groups of people who use family history in their research on campus and need to get the word out for a few years at a time. BYU conferences and workshops. So a lot of you probably know about the BYU annual conference that's usually at the last week of July. You see that here. There you go. What you may not know is that last year they began a My Family History Youth Camp. It was enormously successful last year. Had a great time. It's administered by conferences and workshops, and then they hired last year a family history graduate and two family history graduates to sort of run the day-to-day operations and really engage with the youth. And they're following that model this year as well, so that the youth come and there's a bunch of grown-ups telling them stuff, but there's also people just in their early 20s, just a step or two ahead of the youth, who've done family history at BYU and are very enthused and get them all excited about doing family history. So you might want to consider letting the youth in your family and neighborhood, encouraging them to participate or participating yourself in the Family History Conference, because you see they overlap in dates on purpose to bring those groups together as much as possible. Those will both be annual events, always during the same week. So that's just the highlights of everything available on campus. Again, I want to iterate that you just go to this URL and you can learn about all of the things I've said plus more, where you can see the different websites they have and different events they're hosting that are for the public or available online.
Okay. Thank you, Amy, and thank you to those who've joined us today. You can access the recording of the webinar on our website and also on our channel. Thank you.